Hi, it's Louise Tanner-Stokes from the Anti-Dieting Revolution, and I'm just doing a quick video in my car while my little girl naps in the back. Um, and I just wanted to share a little bit about my work background and what I learnt, what I observed over the years. So I originally trained as a dietitian back in my 20s, and I actually hated working as a dietitian in a hospital, so I didn't do that for very long. I found my dream job working for NHS Health Improvement. So I was working on a few different projects. The main one was weight loss services, including a 6-month intensive program where we helped people who thought that the only way they could lose weight was with bariatric surgery, so the gastric band, the gastric bypass. And a lot of people that came through that program, they actually decided that they didn't need to get the surgery in the end. I only did that part time, so I also picked up some other projects, some other work with other projects, so mainly kind of mental health type stuff. So I was working in confidence building courses, so delivering confidence building courses mainly for women, and also helping promote a campaign called High Five for a Happier Life, which was all about the 5 ways to well-being, so all about mental health, emotional well-being, and I loved all of those things, and they all fitted in really nicely together. And there were a couple of things that I learned before I got made redundant and decided I was going to carry on by myself. The first thing was that I noticed a lot of people who came to the weight loss services had done all the diets. They'd been to all the slimming clubs. They'd tried all the diets, all the pills and potions, you name it. They tried it, and they would come to us and say it was their last resort. They didn't think that they could lose weight. They didn't think they could do it. They didn't think they had the willpower, and they had low confidence. So actually, sometimes I'd refer them to the confidence building courses. But what I recognised was that dieting sucks. Dieting makes it worse, okay? Because a lot of the time they would say, I wish I'd never bothered in the first place, because that weight that I was when I first started wasn't even that bad. I didn't really need to lose weight. I wish I'd just, focused on healthy eating, doing exercise, and just being, accepting myself, because actually I'd give anything to be that weight again. So I recognised that, and it was the story of my grandma. My grandma, she died when I was 11, and I know from my mum. My mum said that my grandma had done all the diets and went to all the slimming clubs. She tried everything, and she just got bigger and bigger and kept. She'd lose the weight, she'd put it back on again. She'd put a little bit more each time and get bigger and bigger. And I remember seeing videos, or there might have been photos, it might have been a video, it might have been a video of photos back in those days when I was a teenager. Some really old home video footage of when she was, I think it was my auntie's christening. So I think she hadn't lost her baby weight from having 3 kids, so from having her third child. And so this was before she started all the dieting, and she looked incredible. She didn't need to lose weight. She was very tall, and I think if she just, maybe looked at exercising and feeling better about herself and accepting her body as it was, I think she'd have been okay. But she thought she needed to be slim and slimmer and back to, her body from before 3 kids. And so she started dieting, and she got bigger, and she struggled a lot with things. And so that was a big thing that stuck out for me, is that dieting makes it worse. It really does. It's about changing too much, making too drastic a change to what you normally do, and learning all these weird, complicated rules and recipes, and changing things to, how do things that you wouldn't normally do, and they don't fit in with your lifestyle. You can't stick to it, because it's too different to what you normally do. It doesn't fit in with having fun, going on holiday, special occasions, all that kind of thing. Just doesn't fit in with your life. It's too difficult to stick to. And so when you come off the diet, you think it's your fault. You think you don't have the willpower, when it's not you. It's the diet. It's too strict. It's too complicated. It's too difficult to stick to. And the second thing that I recognised was that aiming for this ideal body, or this perfect dress size, or this perfect weight, and the perfect BMI, all of that, and actually aiming for a perfect diet as well, is really unhelpful, because there's no such thing. Okay, if you're aiming to be this perfect weight and size, it doesn't exist. It's what's right for you is most important. You know, what is it you want to achieve in your life? What is it you want to do? And what do you need to do to get there? That's more important than this mythical perfect body, when, you know, we human beings come in all different shapes and sizes. And same with the diet. You know, you don't need to eat perfectly to be healthy. You don't need to change everything. You don't need to you know, cut out all the food that you love. You don't need to, you know, stop eating crisps and chocolate and biscuits and all those kind of things, because as soon as you say you're not allowed to eat those things, you want to eat them more, don't you? And then when you have them, you feel guilty. You end up eating more, and you end up binging, and you feel even more guilty, and you get stuck in this kind of guilt binge cycle. And then you think, oh, I'm going to go on the diet again. And you kind of jump between fasting and feasting and feeling guilty. And that's when you end up, you know, getting bigger and bigger, because you're making it things more strict. You're finding it even harder to stick to, and then you binge even more when you come off it. So it's not helpful. This perfection, we need to ditch all of that, because it doesn't exist and it doesn't help. And then the third thing that I recognised, and this was more from the kind of looking at confidence building courses and the people that came to our confidence building courses, mainly the mums. Mums and carers spend a lot of time, a lot of energy caring for other people, and don't care for themselves. You know, they don't do the things that are important to them, like hobbies, nurturing their interests, their passions. Mums particularly focus on their kids, focus on who they're caring for, and make their life all about them. And then at some point, you know, the kids are going to fly the nest, and then suddenly they were, you know, we'd have people come on our confidence building course whose kids had all, you know, flown the nest, or they'd had bereavement, and they were just lost. They were completely lost. They didn't know who they were. They didn't know what they enjoyed. They didn't know what they wanted out of life, and they would feel down, depressed. That would have a massive impact on their eating habits, and things like comfort eating, which obviously the dieting contributes to things like comfort eating and binge eating, and having cravings and going round and round in circles with all of that. And so all of that side of things has an impact too. So this has meant that in my work, we focus on, if you work with me, we focus on tweaking your normal eating habits. We focus on looking at what you normally eat, how you normally eat, and just making little tweaks, little adjustments to build healthier habits that you can stick to forever, that fit in with your life. You know, we look at embracing imperfect healthy eating, because you don't need to do it all perfectly. You absolutely can completely overdo it one day and still eat healthily generally, because it's what you do 80% of the time. So we look at changing your habits gradually, slowly, but not aiming for perfection. You're not aiming for a perfect body. You're not aiming for a perfect weight, perfect size, BMI, none of that. You don't need to do any of that. You don't need to eat perfectly. You don't need to cut out the stuff that you love. It's what's most important is looking at getting enjoyment out of food, getting enjoyment out of exercise, getting enjoyment out of your life. You know, looking at what's bothering you about life, and working on that. And so it's not about me telling you what to eat. It's not about me telling you to go and do the exercise. It's about looking at what you want to do, and looking at what's getting in the way, and helping you with all of that, and making it all what you want to do, how you want your life to be, imperfectly. You don't need to be perfect. So if any of that sounds good to you, you know, get in touch. You need my help. The best place to start working with me is with one of my Kickstart Your Anti-Dieting Action Plan sessions. Message me for more information. It's a 60-minute session followed by a 15-minute follow-up. It's £120, or it's discounted if you are a returning client, or if you're on my mailing list. You know, ask me about those discounts. And what we do is we have a look at your goals, getting clear on where you want to be, what's getting in the way, help you, I'll help you to set up a really simple, easy action plan that will help you get started on working towards your goals, and managing the things that are getting in the way. So you'll come away feeling really clear about where you want to be, what you want to do, how you're going to get there. And it's all recorded in Trello. And I'll give you some extra bits and bobs to help with all of that as well. And then, like I said, there's a 15-minute follow-up a couple of weeks later, so we can have a look at how the action plan's gone, what the next steps are. There's no obligation to carry on working with me if you don't want to. A lot of people find these sessions on their own are enough, and they just carry on. Or there's options to kind of do a little bit here and there, do some kind of ad hoc sessions, or we can talk about getting long-term support. Like I said, there's no obligation either way. So if you've got any questions, give me a shout. If you've got any questions about anything I've talked about today, just get in touch, message me or comment below. But it is time to ditch dieting forever, because dieting sucks. It makes it worse. Aiming for the ideal body weight makes it worse. Aiming for perfection, trying to eat perfectly, makes it worse. And you need to focus on yourself, doing what is right for you, for your life, embracing the imperfection, and ditch dieting forever, because you deserve better. Take care, and I'll see you soon.